There we go. Sorry about that little bit here, a little bit of quietness. Yeah, my settings have been reset on Twitch for whatever reason, not sure why, probably because of Windows update. Anyways, here we are jumping into the game between Martok and Blackhat, a best of 8 played amongst them, and it is the final group stage match in the low-mid league/tournament here. So we're going to be helping right in to the game on Tournament Odyssey between the two players. Actually, so far we haven't really seen Blackhat playing at all, as far as I'm aware. But we have seen a lot of Martok. And so far I believe he never actually even won a single game. He might have won against one player, but it was certainly very close with Martok every single time. So we'll see if that will repeat itself here as well. And starting off, we have in the bottom left-hand corner playing as the pink, non-vanilla Blackhat. And in the top right-hand corner playing as the blue GDI, we have Martok. Right, so here in Odyssey, always going to be the first game here, the first map for the group stage. And so we did see it quite a bit, and we will see it for this last best of 8 as well. We'll see right now. I mean, yeah, both players going for 2 engineers, which is the standard for this map. I would really be a bit, how'd I put it? Well, not so very confident in one player if they did miss out on an engineer. But then again, it does happen to the best of us. Tournament situations do get very, very, some players are very nervous, and they tend to miss out on things like engineers every once in a while, which, albeit is quite a very important part of the game in the early parts of the game, it isn't a very important income source later on in the game when you have a lot of harvesters, you have 2 Tiberium fields. Tip spikes that are almost close to irrelevant and really provide enough income only for like 1 per tank in the span of like 5 or 6 minutes. Alright, here we have just general normal scouting coming out from both players. Buggy out of Blackhat. And so far his scouting does seem to be significantly better than his opponents. He has vision basically all over the map, and he will certainly get a scout on Martok's main base here with either his Milton squads or his buggy. Martok, on the other hand, actually does end up sneaking a rifleman squad through the knot defenses, and he will most likely just take a foxhole. Yep, he's doing that right now. And the buggy is too little too late to be able to do anything. Ooh, the foxhole does cancel a bit early, though, and the squad will end up dying. It's unfortunate. It does happen when you don't have enough money as the GDI player. The foxhole just cancels. And, yeah, very unfortunate, but not the end of the world, losing 1 rifleman squad at the start of the game. The scouting would be nice, of course, always, but right, unless Blackhat is doing some sort of a rush strategy, it's not really all too necessary. And so far, it has been really eco-only. I mean, except for that buggy, of course, but that buggy is generally a normal strategy for Nod anyways, just a normal scout/anti-scout. And we do see an APC here out of Blackhat. Also, free power plants, which is a bit... oh, sorry, not out of Blackhat, sorry, Martok. And free power plants also, which is a bit puzzling. Normally, GDI only really goes for 2, because they only really ever need 2, on 1 field, of course. So, a third power plant is weird to see. He probably used it to power his turret, most likely. And he's actually opting to go for Predator APC as his combination of the day. Not going for Pitbulls at all, and would rather go really, really heavy units here from the very get-go. Blackhat, in the meantime, also going for some eco, and actually going for a bike buggy here to start off with. We do see 2 bikes and a buggy out of him. Actually, more than 2 bikes. It was double war factory from him as well. On 3 refineries, whereas Martok actually went double factory before a 3rd refinery. So his eco situation is going to be very puzzling. Actually, a harvester out, that's actually kind of bad for him, since all the bikes are going to be able to catch it off guard. And the Heart's already taking some damage here. 4 or 5 bikes here with 1 buggy. The Perk tanks are here to defend, but this harvester will most likely end up going down. Another buggy catches up. And the harvester actually getting microed very, very well. It's getting kited around the war factory very nicely here by Martok, and it ends up actually surviving. Blackhat deems it not worth it to commit his forces here, and actually ends up only like losing 4 bikes in a buggy, which is quite a significant number for basically nothing. I mean, there is some lost mining time to speak of here from Martok, but it isn't the end of the world normally. Yeah, and despite Martok actually being behind on his further refinery, especially due to this second war factory out of him, Blackhat so far is the one actually taking the worst trades here in this game. EG of both players is basically the same at this point in time. And currently, I mean, Martok is just sitting on prayer tanks, playing full defense, which is actually something I like to see. It's perhaps not the best idea in general whenever you're facing like a not player that goes for like triple war factory bike buggy, because that can get very challenging. You can really find a few locations to strike and maybe take out a bunch of units like harvesters. You know, go in, kill the infrastructure, kill the power plants. On such an open map like Odyssey, it can get very problematic. However, if Blackhat isn't able to keep up with the pressure, uh, or perhaps doesn't know quite well how to go into tier 3 quickly himself, he might find it very challenging to do anything about these tank defenses here from Martok. And Martok actually, on the offensive now, despite his units being significantly slower than his opponents, he decides to actually drive out here and will potentially actually catch Blackhat's MCV off guard. But actually, Blackhat does deploy it here. On his field, and see we are seeing some tanks getting caught out by this bike buggy here. That's kind of what I was talking about here with the bike buggy being very mobile. It's really able to catch the opponent's army off guard and kill them one by one. And here we're seeing one harvester dying already to the bike buggy here. Probably kind of sitting in the corner though. In the meantime, the attack here for Martok is brewing, and it's actually looking very dangerous. Considering all these APCs, I think he's probably going for AP ammo. Yeah, that's probably what he's waiting for as well here. And currently, the bike buggy is doing a lot, but it's also taking a lot of casualties now from these predator tanks. And now it's only really going to get a harvester or two, and maybe not even that. Dives in once again, but gets caught out by the predator tanks. And the bike buggy basically gets cleaned up at this point for almost nothing here. As we're seeing this attack by Martok on Blackhat's second field, Fanatics come out of Blackhat, and one of them does connect, but only partially, doesn't kill the APC. And a lot of laser turrets out of Blackhat as well, which is actually a very good idea. Martok forced to retreat basically almost instantly. Not sure if he really got a harvester or not. He did seem to clean up with a couple of Scorpion tanks here from Blackhat. But in the end, neither player being able to really break each other's defense, which is kind of surprising at the same time. I thought if not Blackhat, Martok really had it with this force that he has. But apparently not. No, he does not break through. There's a lot of laser turrets, which is a good thing to do in this sort of situation where you don't have a lot of units as the not player. And, I mean, laser turrets are just very, very cost-effective on defense. And Martok now transitioning more into hammerheads and possibly an expansion. Yeah, he is going for an expansion himself before any tier 3. Whereas the not player already did get tier 3 out. And we might see some avatars out on the field. Right, so Martok will get his expansion way quicker than Blackhat here, which will definitely help him in terms of eco. But Blackhat has 2 stealth flame tanks in Martok's backyard, and Martok doesn't realize this. His MCV already burns down to half HP, and he's forced to sell it off. Wow, the 2 flame tanks paid off at least triple-fold. I mean, the cancellation of the expansion for GDI is really a huge hit to GDI here, to Martok. Martok really will take some time to come back from that. He really is forced to get that expansion as fast as possible. Otherwise, he's going to be basically out of Tiberium. The time is ticking here, and the flame tanks are still here. And there is no stealth detection to really speak of for Martok. That's the problem with not going for pit bulls. It's really the lack of stealth detection, especially against not and stuff like flame tank shenanigans. Yeah, flame tanks just driving up to the infrastructure here, and one does get caught out, and they instantly both start firing. The airfield does burn down, but the tier 2 is alive. And the hammerheads will be, I think, too much for this flame tank. Yeah, they will be visible due to that pit bull stealth detection and will be taken out. In the meantime, some avatars actually challenging the army here of Martok. But they are lacking anti-air against these hammerheads, so they will have to fall back. But I'd say Blackhat really has everything in it now to win this game with the army of avatars and infantry that he has. And the expansion that he's actually probably going to get almost faster than Martok. I mean, Martok actually did rebuild his MCV very quickly here, and he will get his expansion actually still faster than Blackhat, but it's not that big of a difference anymore. And Blackhat currently now features the dominant army in this entire game. He already has stealth tanks, albeit without tip core upgrade. Not actually going for any tier 3 upgrades is the not play, which I think is more or less a mistake here. I mean, the tip cores alone would really help loads with the stealth tanks that he has, especially against the air units of Martok. And Martok, actually, not even looking back, he's preparing another assault here against Blackhat. One stealth tank does get caught out, but barely survives. Nice kite here from Blackhat, and all these avatars just taking apart the army here of Martok. Another dive in from Martok with the hammerheads, trying to get something. A scan here as well. Not really revealing anything, but yeah, I mean, even despite not having tip core, Blackhat still has a lot of anti-air. I mean, 2 stealth tanks and a SAM turret is really something to contest here. As 1 stealth tank does die, and the second one will follow, so I believe 3 stealth tanks were lost in this fight, which is not ideal. But then again, the fight was basically won here. Martok didn't lose a single avatar, which is really all that matters. The avatars are the main strength here of his army currently. And yeah, I mean, Martok just now getting tier 3, actually opting to go for tier 3 instead of a refinery here. So his economy is going to be in shambles, but it seems like he really does need that railgun upgrade that he's also desperately going for. Opting to go and kill the tip spikes here with Blackhat. And this game has kind of devolved into more or less a stalemate, as neither Martok can really push without his upgrade, nor can Blackhat really do anything without having, proper anti-air against these hammerheads. Ooh, Vertigo's out of Blackhat though. That's kind of interesting. Martok in the meantime driving into the base of Blackhat, targeting the war factory here on his first field, but that's basically useless at this point in the game. It is damage though. Damage is damage, and self tanks here actually from Blackhat also are harassing Martok, and Martok is going to lose 1 harvester here on his expansion, and most likely followed by a second here, as he will basically have very limited eco at this point in time. Yeah, only down to like 4 harvesters is Martok. Meanwhile, Blackhat is just stacked in harves. The problem with Blackhat though is his refinery is kind of far away from his tip field. But nonetheless, he most likely will have better economy here. Pebble's catching off the stealth tanks from Blackhat, and they do trade fairly evenly. 3 Pebbles for 1 stealth tank. I'd say that's actually more in the favor of the stealth tank, especially without tip core, but it is not the worst trade for a GDI player either. Considering both players are currently sitting on basically full tip fields here, I mean, trading evenly is kind of a good thing for both. It's not really doing anything to change the outcome of the game. Blackhat, however, is the one who has the avatar numbers, so he can potentially be the one to push as well. Ooh! A disruption pod from the Vertigo placed on Blackhat's Reckoner. Whoa, that's some advanced strategies here. I mean, they're not really used in more or less advanced and expert games due to the fact that it's generally perceived as, well, kind of time-consuming and just overall really resource-intensive, and not really giving you much. But in this sort of situation where Martok doesn't have that much self-detection, this can potentially work out. Since with the disruption pod, the infantry which come out of the Reckoner will actually be stealthed as well, meaning that he can potentially actually go in here and just literally capture the MCV in the tech center of Martok, which would be devastating. Vertigo bombers also flying at the same time, and this engineer is going in, not noticed by Martok. That's the MCV cap right there, and Martok should be able to realize now as Catalyst also takes out one of his refinery here on the expansion. An obelisk gets placed by Blackhat, and Blackhat taking the tier 3 of Martok as well. Whoa, that's a huge setback for Martok, losing his tech, losing his expansion basically almost fully, and Martok's writing what the fuck in the chat because, oh man, he didn't even see it coming. The stealth engineer stealthily taking over his structures here. Really quite a devastating blow. A scan coming out from him as well. Now he sees the Reckoner here. Another obelisk coming down from Blackhat, and a tip vein firing off from Blackhat as well. And GG gets called by Martok. He had enough in this game. Oh. So rule of thumb, basically, don't go late game against Blackhat. Jesus. Their economy is actually really similar here in throughout this entire game, and despite Martok actually having better trades initially, Blackhat did manage to get avatar numbers and then pulled off that Reckoner trick, which was basically ended the game on the spot there. Wow, not something you tend to see really out of any player, let alone low mids. Quite an incredible feat there by Blackhat. So the first game goes to Blackhat. So it's 1-0 for Blackhat against Martok. All right, and we're headed on to the second match of this best of 8 between Martok and Blackhat on Tiberium Rift. Quite the classy map here that is picked by Martok. And we're gonna get right into it. Martok actually going for did he pick random? Or did he actually just pick Traveler? I think he probably picked random. So Martok starting off in the bottom left-hand corner playing as the blue Traveler 59. And his opponent, Blackhat, playing as the yellow Nod in the top left-hand corner. Oh well, I mean, certainly I'm still wondering if he can potentially pull this strategy off again. Blackhat later in the game. In Traveler or something that would a faction that would actually really struggle with that engineer strategy way more than the other factions, since they can't really rebuild their MCV even. So once the Traveler MCV is captured, if you do not have a gravity stabilizer, the Traveler player is really doomed. But as we're seeing here, we're probably not going to get into late game, as this ladies and gentlemen, is going to be an all-in here by Martok. A disintegrator fast like all-in, quite a dangerous thing overall. We've seen quite a lot of these strategies, very risky strategies, coming out from Aquatech, and we saw a lot of other people just literally mimicking Aquatech doing that. Actually, a veteran Milton squad coming out here. How did that happen? I'm actually not even sure how you could get a veteran Milton squad so early on in the game. He will actually scout all these descent squads, and he will know what's up. But he needs to act accordingly. I mean, Nod is probably the worst faction to do this sort of rush against due to them having shredder turrets. But there are a lot of descents, and if you don't respond to it correctly, this can really be devastating. And we're seeing shredder turrets out from Blackhat, going for a ton of Milton squads, which is the correct thing to do. Just getting all that anti-infantry as quickly as possible, so the MC will probably fall. But it looks like Martok is not looking for an engagement here, which he actually really has to do. Going for power plants, which is also a wise choice, but I mean, actually, if he cleans up all this infantry right now, all the Milton squads, then this will be very problematic here for Blackhat, as Blackhat will not have anything to deal with the disintegrators, but it doesn't look like he has enough descents to do that, and GG gets called by Martok. Oh, scouted too early and not quite quick enough with those descents. Not able to get any of the harvesters. Not really able to shut down Blackhat's MCV fully. Unfortunate here for Martok, and it is 2-0 for Blackhat. Hello, Amprint. Reinforcements have arrived. Yep. You are a loyal Kane's draft viewer here. And I am casting currently the best of 8 between Martok and Blackhat. This is gonna be the last best of 8 in the low mids tournament / league thing that's going on. And then we're gonna be heading on to group stages, and that's not gonna be today, that's gonna be tomorrow. And we'll see if they're gonna be played probably later this week. Really, not group stages, playoffs. Playoffs. We're currently doing group stages, or rather, finishing group stages. I hope everything is okay with the sound, by the way, as well, since Windows did reset my sound settings for whatever reason. But it does seem like it should be fine. Okay, and the second map picked by Martok here is Tiberium Zone. And we're seeing once again Martok going for random, Blackhat picking Nod. Third match of this best of 8 played on Tiberium Zone is going to be Nod versus GDI here. Quite interesting. So Blackhat in the bottom left-hand corner, playing as the yellow Nod. His opponent Martok playing as the blue GDI in the top right-hand corner. Okay. Yeah, so I'm wondering if we're going to see some sort of a base push out of Martok, since he was playing that Traveler very aggressively last game. And by that I mean he literally all-ined into Disintegrators. However, it didn't also work. So we might be seeing a change in what he's going for, or at least a kind of less risky strats that he's taken, perhaps. I'm not too sure though, still. There's always the possibility of base push. I mean, GDI, albeit not Steel Talents, is still perfectly capable of base pushing an odd player. Especially on a match such as this, where you expand towards your opponent here. So we're seeing the first expansion field is basically towards the opponent. Base pushes are something to really be wary of on a map such as this. But yeah, this is up to Martok whether or not he will base push. I mean, to be fair, even the Nod player can potentially base push the GDI player. If he does get like 3 beam cannons, goes tier 2, gets a nice amount of laser turrets to accompany his base push, potentially he could actually make it, and especially if the GDI player is not prepared. But I wonder if we're going to see any base pushes at all on this map. Since this was actually a common theme here, to be fair. We did see a lot of base pushes out of Steel Talents players. Generally, actually, mostly just GDI players base pushing. But most of them were successful to an extent. Okay. Cool. I mean, so far, just a standard eco from both players. Blackhat being a bit slower than Martok here, but Martok also powering his ref down, making that Harvester AFK, so, I mean, it's not ideal for either. We are seeing that buggy again from Blackhat. The only reason we didn't see that buggy last game was because he literally got Disintegrator all in, which is understandable. Here, however, this buggy is just going to be used for anti-scouting. And it seems like for now, we're just getting a very peaceful eco start from both players. Blackhat redeploying his MCB, going for a power plant here, all standard, and Martok also just deploying his MCB right on his tip field, not seemingly going for a base push just yet. It is to be noted here that there is blue tip on this map, 2 fields in fact, and so far we've seen a very limited number of players actually harvest from them. So I'm intrigued as to if our newer player on the Twitch VOD, so to say, Blackhat, or our old veteran in the low mid tournament, Martok, will be actually going for any blue tip this time around. We are seeing this command post AP ammo thing from Martok again. Potentially this actually might be a base push for all I know. He did this once on, I believe, Twisted Arena against Fate Zero. He actually went for a similar build order with Zocom, where he just went for command post on one field, got AP ammo, and just pushed with Pred APC and Watchtowers against Fate Zero's Steel Talents. And actually, Fate Zero, surprisingly, didn't manage to hold that off, and Martok actually took that game. So it took him by surprise, which could be a good strategy overall. Especially with the lack of scouting out of Blackhat here, since, I mean, seemingly neither player actually knows what's happening in the base of the opponent. Both with only one Harvester in their expansion, and It seems like it's a bit of a repeat of game one here that was played on Odyssey. We're seeing Blackhat going into Bike Buggy, whereas Martok opting out to go for Predator tanks instead. We're seeing that second Harvester here from Martok, and I assume probably a second Harvester here from Blackhat shortly as well. And so far, Bike Buggy is setting up an attack here in the top left-hand corner of the map. And Martok doesn't seem to know about its existence here. So it will be going mostly unnoticed, and Martok will see it potentially way too late. As they're closing in, they already got the scout on the hammerheads. Now Martok should be able to see all of these bikes here. And they're starting to do damage to these harvesters from Martok. One harvester half HP already. The Predator tanks are rolling in, but this harvester will be going down. And another harvester already getting targeted by the bikes. And the bikes are losing their numbers though, and already only 3 bikes left. Down to 1 bike. And the final bike might just get the second harvester with it, but no, it seems unlikely. Another bike actually comes through though on red HP and does snipe the harvester here. Mine drop also pretty good here from Blackhat, taking out 2 Predator tanks. And more bikes here from Blackhat as well, but they are coming from the middle. They were scouted, and Martok is prepared and ready to take them on. Third harvester doesn't end up going down. And Martok, you know, he shouldn't be too happy about this engagement. He did lose 2 Predator tanks to a mine drop. He got his hammerhead scouted. He did lose 2 harvesters in the end of it, but all things considered, there was a lot of bike buggy, and a lot of it did die. So it's not really the best trade for Blackhat either. It's about equal, I would say, depending on how fast the harvesters are rebuilt. And so far, no one going for blue tip. The mine's still doing some work here on the field, surprisingly enough. And yeah, Martok deciding to just stick with the hammerheads, which probably is a good choice overall. And it does seem like there's more stealth flame tanks out of Blackhat. It did get Martok last time, but it is. I guess we'll need to see if it gets him the second time here. I hope he will be a bit more mindful, and it does look like he has at least 1 pitbull here from that Bloodhound's ability, and a second pitbull in his base as well. So he should be ready for any of these stealth flame tank shenanigans here by Blackhat, but potentially his power and his tech might be taken out, since there is no vision there. Blackhat, in the meantime, actually only going for 1 refinery in his expansion, so he is going to have very, very dreadful eco, but he did go for a very fast tier 3. Very fast stealth tanks compared to Martok, where Martok is actually on tier 3 himself as well, and actually going for railgun super early too, but he has less units overall. Actually, Reclamator Hub here out from Martok as well, pretty early on. And perhaps harvesting the field of his opponent might be a very good idea here for Martok. I mean, this field is still not even half empty. And the flame tanks are here as well. Where are the pitbulls actually? The pitbulls are a bit... Oh, there's 1 pitbull. It's a bit far away, and the Reclamator Hub will be getting focused down here by a Blackhat, and will be burning down. No laser fence getting dropped. And 3 stealth flame tanks for a Reclamator Hub. I'm not sure about that, honestly. It seems more like a waste, but it does delay Martok quite a bit in terms of army strength, since the Marv is a very powerful unit, and Martok will solely be relying on this Predator BC with hammerheads for now. Okay. And Blackhat seems to be more like a guerrilla player. He's really just focused on these very small-scale attacks here in the backline of his opponent, rather than just a front-on assault. And I mean, normally against UDI's Juggernauts, a frontal assault is something hard to pull off. But in the current standings, the GI player is the one actually stuck with Predator tanks, whereas the Nod player is actually pumping out avatars. So it is something to be very mindful of here. And currently, no expansion, no second expansion that is, coming out of either player. Scan here from Martok. He does see the army of Blackhat, and Blackhat is the first to go for the expansion here this time around. The hammerheads from Martok are flying in here to try to target, I'm not even sure why, the infantry, I suppose. they are going to take losses from these stealth tanks. There is a bit of infantry here to do that, some anti-air damage. The MCV here from Blackhat will get focused down, and the Predator tanks are streaming in as well, but all the hammerheads are basically dead, and the Predator tanks will not really be working all too well against avatars. They have to retreat, losing basically most of their ranks. And this engagement before even the Marv comes out isn't really going in Martok's favor at all. He ended up getting basically nothing except for some missile squads and lost essentially his entire army. Not the best thing, not the best engagement, all things considered. Oh, is it still radio screen? Whoopsie daisy, sorry about that. Forgot. As I usually do. But yeah, it seems like Blackhat successfully got his expansion out. He has 2 AFK harvesters though. Now he actually notices that they are AFK, so he puts them back on the line. He is behind in terms of mining the Tiberium, but he's ahead in terms of the expansion, and he's definitely ahead in terms of the army. I mean, Martok really sitting on that 1 Marv and 2 Juggernauts. Ooh, the Avatar barely not getting crushes on these harvesters. The harvesters here from Martok are out of position, automatically rallying to the tip field here. 1 Avatar from Blackhat does die. But so far, Blackhat has the numbers here in terms of just damaging units. And I mean, Martok is actually, you know, potentially going to get a very big cash boost here out of this Marv if it does harvest his field. And actually, it is to be noted here as well, Blackhat has been harvesting his blue tip this entire time, whereas Martok has not. So Blackhat undoubtedly has the eco advantage here right now, but this all might change with this Marv on this tip field. Wow, already probably like a third of this tip field has been harvested by this Marv, and even more is going to be harvested by the second here. Vertigo's coming out from Blackhat, and all of his forces getting rallied to this Marv, but Martok should really focus on harvesting this blue field, or sorry, this tip field mostly. The MCV doesn't matter as much, especially if the field will be gone. Marv taking a lot of damage here from the infantry and the Spectre artillery, as long as the avatars here from Blackhat, but it will be harvesting quite a lot and probably already paid itself back. And especially if it harvests the entire field, will probably win the game for Martok, because I mean, Blackhat really does need Tiberium of some sort. The Marv being a little bit lazy, though, not harvesting as much as he could have, and it will end up going down to all these avatars and Spectre artillery. But that is actually a considerable economic damage here done to Blackhat in the future at the very least. So that is a lot of Tiberium that Marv just harvested. And I mean, Martok probably gained a very big cash boost here from that. He's now building an army of his own, going for railgun mammoths and juggernauts against infantry, vertigos, and avatars. Quite the interesting combination here. We aren't seeing enough anti-air from the GDI player, especially against the vertigos. So the vertigos will be actually potentially doing a lot of damage here for Blackhat. And they're actually going for what? They're just kind of scouting here, flying by, actually dropping a bomb on the barracks, getting 1 harvester as well, and they'll be flying out. Well, there's a lot of scouting information here for Blackhat, so I guess it's not that bad. Also, an elite Venom. I wonder how it ranked up being here. So probably on the Hammerheads, most likely. But yeah, now we're really seeing this difference in the amount of Tiberium here for both players. I mean, Blackhat is still harvesting the blue tip, so he does have that advantage, especially if he's going to harvest the blue tip of his opponent here up top. Blackhat will have an even bigger advantage, but he will just survive until then. We are seeing this GDI onslaught here, frontal assault, with these mammoth tanks and juggernauts here. Slingshots out as well against these Venoms and Vertigos with tungsten shell. They'll be doing a lot of damage. All the Vertigos and Venoms die. This is just a lot of Juggernauts here in Mammoth Tanks from Martok. A lot of these avatars are clumping up and not really doing all too well. Mine Drop does come out as well, but most of the mines aren't really that effective against Mammoth Tanks, and Spectre Artillery is trying to do something, and they will be taking out the Mammoth Tanks, but the Juggernauts are still there, and even more forces here sent out by Martok. All the Spectre Artillery will be going down. Ooh, a lot of slingshots actually going down as well here, and a lot of infantry here being made by Blackhat. The snipers are still alive though, although barely, from Martok, and they will be taking good care of the infantry. But the Vertigos are going to come back here, and I mean, there's no slingshots left anymore. These Juggernauts are going to take a lot of damage. One Juggernaut going down, 3 Juggernauts only left. And in the meantime, Blackhat doing a lot of economic damage here to the Harvesters of Martok. So despite this push being relatively successful, it didn't finish Blackhat off, and he still has those Vertigo Bombers. Those Juggernauts will just simply not make it fast enough to kill the Vertigos. And they will be targeting down the MCB here of Blackhat instead. Will the Vertigos make it fast enough here to actually take out the Juggernauts? It does seem like that will be a no, as this MCB will be going down. Oh no, actually, wait, oh yeah, never mind, the MCB does go down. And the Juggernauts do follow that MCB in its path. They are also taken out. So Blackhat actually able to get a Redeemer Engineering facility out here for himself, and he does have 2 production structures that he can rebuild the MCB from. So it's not the end of the world here for him. Martok also able to establish an economy here on this 3rd field, defend against the stealth tanks, and protect his harvesters. And a Redeemer actually out for Blackhat. So Martok losing his Marv, not even being able to rebuild it just yet. And a Redeemer actually coming out for Blackhat. This is the first Redeemer we've seen today. But it was flying out to clean up the husks. I mean, it would have been way better to recapture those, but I guess at least they don't. I mean, Martok isn't able to get them anymore. And it does seem like Tipcore is purchased here, so these tough tanks will be a menace to the Hammerheads. Not sure why Martok is really opting to go for a bunch of Hammerheads, and the Marv is still not getting rebuilt, so Martok will be relying on Juggernauts and Grenadier Squad, it seems like, here, for the majority of the damage. MCB for Blackhat is going to get a rebuild, and he does have, so far, from his entire army, he has stealth tanks, Vertigos, and a Redeemer. I mean, honestly, Blackhat could have pushed here already, and if not done a full push, but at least he could have, I mean, poked through. Try to do some sort of crushing with his Redeemer, try to get more harvesters of the stealth tanks. Or even just bomb with the Vertigo Bombers, but it seems like for now, Blackhat just keeping himself confined to his base. Well, the Vertigo Bombers flying out once again to try to find something to their liking. Seems like nothing interests Blackhat here, and they do turn around. And they turn around once again, Blackhat being a bit indecisive with the Vertigo Bombers. Be flying in and bombing the tier 3, and actually take out the tier 3 without the laser fence being applied, and Martok losing the ability to build his Juggernauts. His Marv does come out though, and his Grenadiers are actually out of position here, so it will be taken out. He does have AMP nades, probably that's why he made the Grenadiers in the first place, but I mean, as long as the Redeemer is stealthed, you can't really visually see it, nor is it also really hard to impede as well, as one Juggernaut will be getting crushed here by the Redeemer, and the second one will probably follow as well. It seems like Blackhat really enjoying his super late game base camp here, as not with all the stealth that he has at his disposal. And actually finding the blue tip here as well from Martok. So Blackhat now harvesting 2 blue fields for himself. Harvester being a bit weird, routing back. Not sure why that is, but Howitzers are a bit weird sometimes with those things. Tier 4 actually out of Blackhat as well. So he does have a potential for tip veins. The Marv actually getting a garrison of 4 engineers instead of some zone troopers. Quite an interesting choice here by Martok. Seeing as he doesn't really have any more other damage types. All the Juggernauts have been taken out. He really just has a Marv and some Predator tanks along with a few Hammerheads. The Venom here from Blackhat does get caught out by the slingshots. And the Vertigos are still flying out to try to find something, I assume. The slingshots from Martok are there to ward off the Vertigos. I mean, it seems like Blackhat really just builds Vertigos just to get these stealth generators here from them. The Disruption Pod, I believe it's called. And now Martok choosing to go in the defensive with his Marv, harvesting the first expansion field of Blackhat that Blackhat never really expanded to. So Martok will be getting a lot of cash from this, but a mine drop is coming out and almost kills the Marv. Marv on half health. The Vertigos do fly in, and they're targeting the infantry. That's kind of a mistake here, as the Marv is still alive despite all of that. Radiant doesn't even fire off here. And it seems like this Marv is going to die regardless, though, as there's a lot of avatars still and a Redeemer that will be able to take care of it. Even with the 4 engineers, the healing is not enough, and the Marv does end up dying. That mine drop doing half the HP of the Marv. Quite incredible there. Martok forced to retreat here, and his Tiberium is drying up, so he doesn't really even have that many more options left. Whereas Blackhat still harvesting that blue tip here, will be even having more eco than Martok, who actually harvested basically half of Blackhat's second expansion field. A commando also out from Blackhat, and he'll be moving forward. Already having 2 veteran Vertigo bombers here, doing a lot more, well, not a lot more, but a bit more damage. When the Predator tanks will be getting caught out here. 3 Predator tanks falling to 3 Vertigo bombers. And now Martok building Firehawks, I assume, against the Vertigos, mainly for the aerial domination. But it might be too little too late. I mean, at this point, Martok really doesn't even really need anti-air. Primarily, he just needs something to be able to deal with that Redeemer and those avatars. And really, right now, the only thing he has for that are Predator tanks, and only 4 of them. I mean, 1 Juggernaut as well, yeah, sure, but it's really not enough. Tungsten Shell is there for Martok as well now, as he's really focusing on this anti-air, seems like. Maybe even focusing too much on anti-air. A second Juggernaut does come out, and Martok will be struggling on resources right about now, as his field dries up. The Firehawks are flying out, possibly to try to find the Vertigo Bombers on the map somewhere, or actually going for a bombing run to kill the Tipspike of Blackhat. Tipspike does fall. And it seems like this Redeemer is coming here to probably just to fire off a Radiant and disappear, or take out Martok's Harvester. Martok's Harvester is not going to die, but the Radiant does fire off, and these Predator tanks will be getting focused down by the Juggernauts. Martok is relentless, though, trying to go for this Redeemer, but I mean, he doesn't really have enough right now. 2 Avatars coming in here as well, and they will be probably dying here from the Juggernaut fire. Vertigo Bombers coming out here for Blackhat as well, bombing the Juggernauts from Martok. And a Tip Vein also firing off to kill the Husks. And just everything here for Martok. A lot of stealth tanks out from Blackhat as well, and I mean, despite this not being the best trade for Blackhat, this is still horrible for Martok, as he's really down to 1 Juggernaut worth of damage. And the Vapor Bomb firing off does almost finish up the Juggernaut, but there's also a Reckoner with Engineers on the map capturing the airfield of Martok, and Martok res GG. Wow. So yeah, it does seems like nothing is working for Martok here today. I mean, it's 3-0 for Blackhat already. Blackhat soon to be on match point in this best of 8. As so far, the early game rush didn't work for Martok. The late game, both of the times, has not worked out for Martok either, and it seems like he's probably out of options right now. And yeah, radio mode. Gotta enable that. Okay, and the 4th map of the day is going to be Tournament Arena here. A pick by Martok, and he's actually picking Steel Talons this time around. Wow. That's quite a strong pick on this small of a map. But Blackhat picking Martok of Kane here as well. It's basically a counter pick here from Blackhat. Wow, Steel Talons versus Nod here on this map would be very rough for Nod as a matchup just in general. As the Titans on this map are just absolutely dominant. This is a very small map. And a base push is just asking to be had here by the Steel Talons player. Whereas, I mean, Martok of Kane does have those EMPs, so an early game base push will probably not work out. And in the bottom left-hand corner, starting as the blue Steel Talons, we have Martok. And in the top left-hand corner, playing as the Cyan Martok of Kane, we have Blackhat. So we have Mach versus SD. Technically, the ST EMPs aren't going to be as useful later on in the game when adaptive armor is obtained by the Steel Talons player. However, early on, Mach is basically dominant. I mean, Steel Talons player can't really push into anything here, as they're really going to be suffering from the EMPs from the Mach squads. Yeah, radio mode is really trying really hard to become EMP here. I agree fully with that statement. It seems like Martok will be losing 1 squad here to the Mach squads. And he does scout the Mach squads. I mean, there's 6 Mach squads, 4 of them full HP. Quite the commitment here from Blackhat. This is basically almost like an early game rush here from him. And he can probably even engage this Foxhole. It's obviously not ideal, as he will lose at least 1 or 2 squads here. Martok retargeting to the smaller HP one, but not getting any squads in the end. I mean, Martok really does he just has to make 2 APCs here. I mean, there's basically nothing else he can do. Turrets and APCs, or maybe even one APC and just 2 or 3 turrets. Without the APCs, though, the turrets will not be able to do enough, and this turret actually gets sold off instantly, which is honestly also a mistake here from Martok. But the Rifleman squad not finished off by Blackhat, and he does reach Martok's base eventually here, and he does get a very good EMP on the MCV and the refinery and the war factory of Martok, but he's down to only 4 Mach squads at this point in time. And I'm not even sure if this is entirely worth it now. He does have very good economy, though. He does have a free harvest. He's actually ahead on eco considerably now, although Martok is getting his second refinery as well. And so far, not even a single APC out from Martok at all. He's just going for watchtowers and rifleman squads. Wolverine. Oh, right. Sorry, not APCs. He's Steel Talons, of course. Not APCs. MRTs. But yeah, Wolverine out of Martok's War Factory here does clean up all the all the Mach squads as they are on cooldown. And it seems like the position here for both players is almost even until I looked at Blackhat's base, and he does appear to have actually 2 more Harvesters here than does Martok, but Martok also going for a tier 2 here early on, and that's a base push. That is 100% a base push. I mean, this MCV should have been going up for the expansion, not not to the left side. Yeah, this Wolverine is going to be aiding in the base push here, and it seems like he probably will be going for just a bunch of Titans here for this base push. But I mean, March of Kane will be able to really hold this super easily as long as the EMPs are used enough. And 3 bikes out of Blackhat here could be problematic for Martok. 4 bikes actually targeting down the Wolverine. Nice guiding by Blackhat, and he does take down the Wolverine without losing a single bike. 5 bikes now out on the map for Blackhat, and he is going to be going for the Harvesters here, but a Titan does come out. And wow, still not a single bike lost by Blackhat. That's kind of impressive, honestly. The Foxhole gets cleaned up here as well in the middle of the map. And so far, Blackhat just going for a lot of bikes. I mean, this is really not going to help him in terms of stopping the base push all that much, since bikes really have almost no armor here compared to the Titans. You'd really be rather making Scorpion tanks or maybe even free beam cannons just to be able to kill that MCV faster, or the War Factory that gets placed. But the bikes will be keeping Martok in his base, and he can't really leave all too easily. Also, the blue tip will be basically heavily guarded by the bikes here, whereas Blackhat has free reign in harvesting it. And yeah, Blackhat just going for more and more bike buggy. He's not even scared of any of the Titans. He's just going for bike buggy. Wow, quite the brave play by Blackhat here. But yeah, Martok actually not opting to base push either, going for a third refinery here. And just chilling at base. It seems like this bike buggy really did scare him. And yeah, infantry and buggy out of Blackhat. In the meantime, the base push does continue after this third refinery. Slight delay here, slight camping stop from Martok. Martok is continuing the base push. Packs up his MSV, moves out with the Titan numbers. But the infantry is here, and I mean, he really does need watchtowers here at this point in time. As laser turret does get placed down by Blackhat, it's almost as if he knew this base push was coming. He could just feel it inside his bones. And the bike buggy in the meantime going for the eco of Martok. Martok leaving his base entirely, not having any defense here. And the bikes are going to be just rushing through his harvesters. A lot of mock spots coming out here from Blackhat. He'll be sending off those EMPs. The watchtowers will not be helping enough. And the EMPs will just EMP everything down. Only 3 Titans shooting here. The bikes will actually be cleaned up as well, but they do clean up, I believe, 2 or at least 3 or 4 harvesters here from Martok. Martok down to 2 harvesters for the economy, and his Titans on the front lines here are falling one by one. He really has to conserve his forces here as much as he can. Another laser turret down for Blackhat. Instantly gets focused down, but this Titan here in the front lines will be getting focused down as well, and more Scorpion tanks out of Blackhat. Another EMP goes down on the War Factory. I mean, yeah, this is just a big army here from Blackhat. Another laser turret out from him, and I mean, Martok really just has to retreat. All his Titans red HP now, dying one by one. Another Titan does go down, and Martok just lost his entire army here. I mean, he basically has nothing anymore, and Lightning do come out for Blackhat, and it usually gets pulled by Martok. Wow, it's 4-0 for Blackhat. So match point for Blackhat. Nothing working for Martok. Not the early game rush. Not the 2 late games that he played. Not even the base push by ST on Arena. So yeah, kind of... We're kind of seeing here a best of 8 between a player that is just playing relatively solidly. I mean, he's trying out a lot of very fancy things, which, I mean, is kind of risky to go for, generally speaking, but it seems to be really working out for him here. And, I mean, Martok just here forced to sit and try to break the defense of Blackhat. Seems like so far it was impenetrable. And the moment Martok picks a different map than the small arena, Blackhat instantly switches to Nod. And just goes and Martok switching to GGI himself. Wow. And yeah, radio mode. I mean, there's no point in turning on radio mode right now since it's basically the start of the next game. I kind of just remember that to turn it on at the very end of each game and not at this point in time. But unless, actually, we're seeing Martok opting out for random instead of GGI, and the fifth map will be Tournament Highlands here. So randoming versus Blackhat as Nod on Highlands, quite the risky move here. Yep, and he randoms Travel 59. Wow. So this is going to be the fifth game here of this best of 8 between Martok and Blackhat. Blackhat currently match point 4-0 to Martok's 0. Or 4 to Martok's 0. And Martok getting blue Traveler 59 here as the faction that he needs to play. Meanwhile, Blackhat playing in the bottom left-hand corner as the purple Nod. And yeah, both going for 2 engineers, and it seems like Disintegrator's out from Martok. I'm really just wondering if he's going for another Descent all-in. It doesn't seem like it, since this is a very long building end. He goes for a refinery instead. Yeah, Martok just going for a slow leg descent. Actually, never mind, going for a stasis chamber now, so he will be getting the fast legs upgrade for them. But yeah, I mean, so far it hasn't been scouted yet by Blackhat. He really doesn't need to scout this to be able to do anything. If Martok does get both the tip spikes here from Blackhat, this might be very, very good for him. But all things considered, I'm not sure I necessarily like this here from Martok. Since Blackhat, I mean, he did really get good scouts so far throughout all the games. He saw exactly what Martok was up to and reacted appropriately. And we're seeing this here once again as the Milton squads do catch out the Disintegrator squads from Martok. Actually, Blackhat opting to go for 6 Miltons, actually 7 Milton squads to scout. That is a huge overcommitment, but I guess he is on match point. He doesn't really want to throw out a game some sort of random rush, which is what's happening here right now. And one tip strike will end up going down here for Blackhat. And wow, Blackhat actually overcommitting. He thinks this is an all-in when it's actually not. He's going for a shredder. He's going for a ton of infantry from the barracks, but this is actually a fluke. Wow, Martok actually bluffing his all-in out. He isn't actually going for an all-in. It's just a few Disintegrator squads here from the start. And Blackhat's still sitting here in his base and waiting for an all-in that's not even going to happen. Wow, that's kind of insane. That's pretty nice bluff here from Martok, making Blackhat think this is an all-in when it's actually not an all-in at all. He's just so used to the all-ins here from Martok. Well, I mean, it only happened once, but even then, it's still a scary thing, especially when you get Traveler twice when you go random. Even then, however, even when he overcommits on the anti-all-in strategies, he's still up by like how many? Like 2 harvesters? That's kind of insane. Blackhat's eco game is really on point here. Martok, despite even being Traveler, or a Squin faction rather, is still even then behind on the eco, and he is going for a tier 2 early on once again. Not sure if he's planning to go for Cultists or an early tier 3, but that early tier 2 is a thing from him. And both players expanding. Oh, and Blackhat going for Bike Buggy. So Blackhat, I mean, he basically went for Bike Buggy literally like every single game, and so far it has basically worked for him every single game. He has very good transitions into Scorpion tanks when he needs to. He has, he uses infantry quite a bit when he also needs to. He has great knowledge of some really funky strategies like Stealth Reckoner with infantry and Stealth Flame Tanks. And yeah, so far, Blackhat really proving to be a very difficult opponent to play against here for Martok. Martok's Secret Tank's getting caught out on the blue tip here. I believe it's 1 bike or 2 bikes for a Secret Tank. Well, now definitely at least 2 bikes for a Secret Tank. So not all too worth it here for Blackhat. But a Lightning Spike is going to get baited out. And Martok once again behind on the macro. Although he's going for a tech lab so soon. Wow, this is a tier 3 rush from our Traveler player. I wonder what he's trying to get with that. Is he going for a commando? Is he going for a hexapod with hexalame? Is he going for just tripod spam and just doing like a standard build minus the standard of the build because he's gonna basically have very lackluster economy at this point in time? And yeah, he's just going for tripods. Wow. I mean, he'll certainly be able to defend against the bike buggy right now with the tripods at hand. And actually, wow, Blackhat going for 2 NGs to recapture the spikes of his opponent. As he lost both his, he just, you know, doesn't like his opponent having his spikes as well. And yeah, these bikes are going to be diving in past the Seeker tanks of Martok, and they will be getting another Harvester here from Martok, although the Seekers from Martok are here. And our Harvester barely doesn't survive, and it will die, but a lot of bikes lost for it as well. In the meantime, good economy out from Blackhat. And it does seem like he is keeping like 10 Harvesters on the line right now, which is very good. And going for a lot of infantry himself, which is also a good strategy against the tripods. And really not even going for a bike, he's just going simply for bikes. And just banking on that to be doing drive-bys here. And Martok's base seems like only 1 tip spike here is going to get captured by Blackhat, and the other one is saved by Martok. And Martok actually building a sizable number of tripods now, but also getting the tier 3 Seeker upgrade, which is also very nice. But it's not going to be very good against infantry at all. These bikes driving for the middle will be getting caught out by the tripods. 4 of them will be dying for basically absolutely no reason. But 6 bikes do remain, and they will still scour these lands. Now targeting the Lightning Spike. Lightning Spike will be getting killed by the bikes here. At a price of 1 bike. And it seems like the push is here for Martok. Martok going for a ton of Seekers with tripods. As Traveler as well, not even a Scrin. I mean, he's kind of forced to as he just random Traveler here. And he's still behind in economy. Beam Cannons, tier 3 with laser fence and infantry spam out from Blackhat here. Wow, a lot of Beam Cannons as well. This is looking rough for Martok. And the bikes from Blackhat here also catching out the eco of Martok. Martok trying to face his Harvester, but being a second too late. Harvester does end up going down. I mean, Blackhat is trading a lot of bikes for just single Harvester every single time, but it is having an impact on the economy here of Martok, certainly. As we are seeing Blackhat harvesting way more Tiberium than Martok ever did. Yeah, 4 tripods now out from Martok with a bunch of Secret Tanks as support here. But the Redeemer Engineering Facility is out, a ton of infantry is out, and the Beam Cannons are here as well. Which Beam Cannons, I mean, aren't really a good thing in just frontal, you know, just frontal engagements, like out in the open, out in the fields, are really just a thing to kill buildings. But in large numbers, they could be very efficient against targets, big targets like the Epic units, or perhaps unarmored tripods. Traveler tripods, of course, not having shields is a big liability, especially when fighting beam cannons. So if this Redeemer comes out and Blackhat just literally plays campy, just literally base camps, and just shoots with his beam cannons, this could be very unfortunate here for Martok. As Martok, I mean, he basically has no way to defend his tripods at all. Disruption Tower out from Blackhat. He's getting the Redeemer out and he's pushing his MCV at the same time. Wow, this is just absolutely devastating here from him. First Secret Tank dies. The infantry and the beam cannons are here. Second Secret Tank already going down. The ability gets used. The infantry ability gets used. It spawns Awakened Squads, and the EMPs are going to be coming. The tripods are trying to run away. One tripod gets caught out, is already going to die. Beam cannons damaging another tripod here. A second tripod here does get caught out by Blackhat, and a second tripod will be going down shortly. Oh, this was sort of almost a wasted ability here from Blackhat, but it doesn't cost that much. It's not in the rule. That one outer out from him as well. Now, there's a lot of tripods still here from Martok. This is still some army to really be reckoned with, but Blackhat is the one with the infantry numbers, and even the Buzzer Swarm really doing nothing here, as the beam cannons will be doing their work. Look at that tripod burning down in seconds, and they're going to be refocusing for another shot. Another tripod going down. Third, fourth, fifth tripod down on the ground, as Martok is losing tripod by tripod super quickly. The Remuneration does fire off, and tripod does get into the beam cannon's ranks, which will be hard to deal with, but it instantly dies to the Redeemer and the Avatars, and the barracks is out to try to recapture the husks. And Martok has no way to stop the recapture of the husks here. That is literally the main problem for him. The husks is something he can definitely not deal with. Wow, some beam cannons still alive here for Blackhat, and they will be burning down the Corruptors and the Secret Tanks from Martok. I mean, Martok actually, surprisingly enough, does clear up like 4 or 5 husks of his, but I mean, 3 tripods will still be recaptured by Blackhat, and I mean, 5 avatars, a Redeemer, 3 tripods, a ton of infantry, an elite beam cannon. And Martok, in the meantime, having basically nothing. I mean, he does have economy on the midfield, which is very good. And he is harvesting, never mind. That's Blackhat. Blackhat harvesting both of the blue fields on this map, giving him just an amazing eco advantage here. Now he's pushing through the middle of the map here, knowing full well he's the one with the tip vein. Stealth tanks out of him as well, with the tip core upgrade, and Martok is forced to retreat fully here as he cannot take the engagement. He has basically nothing to take the engagement with. Kind of going for desperate devastators here. I mean, but stealth tanks are out from Martok already. It's like he had nothing else to build, and he just built some stealth tanks as well. Or maybe he just knows how to tell the future, and really saw those devastators coming from a mile away. But I mean, this is just way too many units here from Blackhat. A temporal wormhole does get called out, but the beam cannons will burn down Martok's MCV, and GG gets called by Martok, as Martok gets absolutely swarmed here. 5-0 by Blackhat in this best of 8. Wow, very unfortunate here from Martok. I mean, he really just couldn't break the defense of Blackhat. Not with anything he tried, not even going random, not even picking GDI. Blackhat just won time and time again in the early or in the late game. It didn't matter. Blackhat looking like a pretty unstoppable force. He does seem to have the right decisions in terms of unit type, and certainly he does seem to have very good eco timings for himself. So, oh yeah, really well played by him. And well, hopefully we will see Martok some other time in some other show matches. In the meantime, this will be it for today, though, as this was the only best of 8 that was planned. So I'll be catching you guys later, possibly around Tuesday or Wednesday, when the playoffs are going to be starting, and we're going to be seeing some of the low mids that have made it through play their games. This will be a very exciting thing as well, certainly, as the main part of the tournament is going to be starting. We will be seeing a lot of activity and a lot more games, so stay tuned, guys. Wait, Martok is hosting another lobby. Hold on a second. Did I miscount? I shouldn't have miscounted. Hold on a second. I should be ending the stream here shortly. Wait. Let me just verify this. If I'm not like absolutely bullshitting everyone here. Give me a second. I'm gonna just look on command post. Right, so 1 Odyssey, Tib Rift, Tib Zone, Arena, Highlands. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I'm not bullshitting anyone. And yeah, it is over here for Martok. It is 5-0. I did get that right, thankfully. I can count. So yeah, I will be ending the stream here now. But yeah, stay tuned for later, guys, to see more games between the low mid players and possibly some beginner players as well. I probably will be casting those games too a bit later. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming, and see you a lot around.